The Sultanate and the US review training programs and joint security exercises for next year. The Omani Historical Encyclopedia Oman since the beginning of time is launched. And the Capital Market Authority establishes a new department to combat money laundering. And now, live from this news center of the Sultanate of Oman television, here we present to you the details. The Sultanate and the United States of America held a formal session of talks which discussed ways to enhance mutual security cooperation. The session reviewed training programs and joint security exercises that will be implemented during the next year, 2021, which aim to develop national capabilities in various common security areas, as well as the sustainability of security coordination between the two friendly countries in order to enhance regional stability and security. The session comes within the framework of strengthening the strong strategic relations between the Sultanate and the United States of America. It was attended by a number of senior officers of the Sultanate's military and security services and officials from the U.S. Embassy. The Omani Historical Encyclopedia Oman since the beginning of time, an illustrated historical record, was launched at the National Museum. The encyclopedia includes 4 volumes of large pieces that re-document Omani history more than 7,000 years ago.
Oman since the beginning of time narrates the story of the people of Oman and their lives by illustrations inspired by carvings and drawings that are up to 7,000 years old. The encyclopedia comprises 4 large volumes documenting Omani history over a period of 7,000 years. The volumes were published as per the directives of the late Sultan and was supervised by His Majesty's Advisor for Economic Planning Affairs. The National Museum is one of the main supporters and contributors to this project.
The National Museum has been honored to take part in this project since its inception about 5 years ago. This is a visually driven encyclopedic work that covers a broad spectrum related to Oman, including Oman's cultural heritage and natural heritage.
Covering close to 1,800 pages, the encyclopedia includes over 5,000 pages that were selected from over 150,000, collected from various sources, in an attempt to rewrite Omani history objectively. The aim is for the encyclopedia to serve as an accurate reference for scholars and researchers in the historical field.
I have been very privileged to work on this book, Oman since the beginning of time. It's an illustrated historical record of Oman. We had several challenges. Perhaps the most significant challenge is to actually describe historical events with the least amount of text. Also, we did not have sufficient images of periods prior to 100 to 200 years, and those which were available were not of sufficient qualities. Another challenge we had was actually the significant amount of images that we have managed to collect and go through them. We have collected around 150,000 images, and we sifted through them about 3 times. We finally managed to select about 8,155 images, which were organized in 4 chapters or 4 volumes of this book.
The celebration of the launch of the encyclopedia had the attendance of officials and researchers alike. When asked for his input in regards to Oman since the beginning of time, His Excellency the Minister of Heritage and Tourism had this to say.
I believe this is a very unique addition to the body of literatures that exist in Oman. It's unique, though, in terms of the way that it was produced. It reflects the the group effort of a number of ministries, institutions, and citizens as well, in terms of their contributions, in terms of the material that was made available to those who were in charge of producing this massive undertaking that I think will be there to stay for a very long time.
The encyclopedia uses a variety of illustrative styles, including anecdotes, images, poetry, colours, and illustrations based on scientific evidence and archaeological findings. It uses as little text or commentary as possible to avoid misinterpretation. Instead, readers are called upon to use their own imagination to explore and understand the history of Oman, accompanied by different shapes and patterns that continue to play a role to this day. Oman since the beginning of time, an illustrated record of Oman's history, from Magan, the land of bronze, through the Nabhani and Yarabi dynasties, all the way to the rule of Al Said. An all-encompassing encyclopedia fulfilling the wish of His late Majesty to conduct expansive research and document the history of our beloved country. For the Sultanate of Oman Television, Ahmed Mahmoud Al-Hanai, Muscat.
Thank you, Ahmed, there. On the occasion of the 40th anniversary of establishing diplomatic relations between the Sultanate and Thailand, His Excellency Syed Badr bin Hamad Al Busaidi, Foreign Minister, and His Excellency Don Bormudiai, Deputy Prime Minister and Foreign Minister of Thailand, exchanged congratulatory messages. The two sides affirmed on the keenness of their countries to continue and support mutual cooperation and coordination in various spheres which serves their interest. The exchange of official visits and consultations which took place between both countries in various levels contributed in developing and enhancing relations between the two friendly countries. It's worth mentioning that since the establishing of the diplomatic relations between the Sultanate and Thailand in 1980, the two countries strengthened cooperation in various political, diplomatic, economic and cultural fields. The two countries also discussed on strengthening further the fields of healthcare, energy, security, tourism, and food security. The third meeting of the National Committee for Family Affairs reviewed welfare and reform measures for delinquent juveniles and those at risk of delinquency. The meeting also discussed a report on demands of allocating sports venues for girls and increase the practicing of school activities. The National Committee for Family Affairs seeks to maintain the cohesion of families in addition to highlighting the importance of dialogue among family members. The meeting was chaired by Her Excellency Layla bint Ahmed Al-Najjar, Minister of Social Development, chairperson of the committee. The Board of Directors of the Public Authority for Social Insurance approved the implementation and operational plans for the third edition of the strategic plan of the authority for the period from 2021 to 2025. The board, during its fourth meeting this year, also approved the general budget of the Public Authority for Social Insurance for next year. The meeting reviewed insurance schemes that the authority works on studying their application for the upcoming period. It also reviewed the investments opportunities in the local level and a number of reports on the financial status of the authority. The meeting was chaired by His Excellency Dr. Mahad bin Saeed Ba'win, Minister of Labour, chairperson or chairman of the Board of Directors of the Public Authority for Social Insurance. Under the theme, the identity and the belonging in a changing world, the Cultural Club announces its programs and activities of the year 2021. The program includes 49 events which will be launched on January at the 3rd Al Khamsa Festival for Arab poets, as well as lectures on land and sea on the Omani traditional heritage. It also will cover dialogue sessions and literary and historical seminars. You're watching the Sultanate of Oman television, and later to come in our news bulletin. Oman's diverse marine life enthralls the tourists as well as the residents. Welcome back to the news from the South and Oman television. People could be seen running from explosions which struck the airport in the southern Yemeni city of Aden today as a plane carrying the newly formed cabinet landed there. Initial reports said at least 4 people were killed and dozens were wounded. No one on the government plane was hurt. Yemeni Communication Minister Naguib Al-Aoug, who was also on the government plane, said he heard 2 explosions suggesting they were drone attacks. Yemeni Prime Minister Ma'in Abdul Malik Saeed and the others were quickly whisked away from the airport to Mashik Palace in the city. Health officials said that at least 4 people were killed in the explosion and dozens were wounded. The ministers were returning to Aden after being sworn in last week as part of a reshuffle following a deal with rival southern separatists. Yemen's international recognized government has mostly from self-imposed exile in the Saudi capital of Riyadh during the country's years-long civil war. Indian farmers and their union leaders arrived for another round of negotiations with the government in New Delhi today. This is the 6th round of discussions with the government as earlier talks failed to reach any conclusion. Protesting farmers have demanded rollback of new agricultural laws passed by Prime Minister Narendra Modi's government that farmers fear will favor big corporations and make family-owned farms unviable, eventually leaving them landless. They have occupied key highways around the capital city and protested for more than a month. The government says the 3 laws approved by Parliament in September will enable farmers to market their produce and boost production through private investment. The United Kingdom's medicine regulatory body said today a review of the approved Oxford AstraZeneca vaccine had been scientifically rigorous. Speaking at a news briefing, the chief executive of Medicines and Healthcare Products Regulatory Agency, June Rain, said AstraZeneca has been approved for use in people aged 18 years and older with 2 standard doses for 12 weeks apart. The chair of the Commission on Human Medicines Experts Working Group, Professor Munir Pearl Mohammed, who worked on the rolling review of the second vaccine, said it takes 22 days to get partial immunity after the first dose. Rain also updated guidance on the first approved vaccine, Pfizer-BioNTech, which has now been approved for use by pregnant women who are breastfeeding, and anyone with food allergies or allergies to other medicines. The European Union's top officials have formally signed the post-Brexit trade deal with the United Kingdom. European Commission President Ursula von der Leyen and European Council President Charles Michel put pen to paper Thursday morning during a brief signature ceremony in Brussels. The documents will then be flown across the Channel to London in a RAF plane for British Prime Minister Boris Johnson to sign them. The UK Parliament will start debating the agreement, setting up new trade rules between 27-nation bloc and former member Britain. The agreement needs approval from Britain's Parliament and from the European Union's legislator, which is not expected to take up the deal for weeks. A landslide smashed into a residential area near Norwegian capital today, injuring 9 people and destroying several homes. Some 200 people have been evacuated amid fears of further landslides. Norwegian police were alerted at 4 a.m. local time to the slip in the village of Ask in the municipality of Gjerdrum, some 20 kilometers north of Oslo. Some 40 ambulances were sent to the scene and evacuation continued as officials said there was a risk of further landslides. None of the injured was reported to be seriously hurt. The area where Ask is located is known for having a lot of so-called quick clay and form of clay that can change from solid to liquid form. There have been previously landslides reported in the area. Once again, back here in the Sultanate, the Capital Market Authority established a new department to combat money laundering and terrorist financing. The department will work to spread awareness, enact legislations and contribute to national and international efforts to combat this phenomenon. It will also work to protect the capital market institutions from the risk of money laundering and terrorist financing. Meanwhile, the Capital Market Authority issued a decision to suspend 36 insurance agents for a series of various insurance companies for their violation of some provisions of the regulation organizing the requirements for licensing insurance agents for non-commitment to reconcile their positions. The Sultanate continues the vaccination campaign with Pfizer-BioNTech vaccine against COVID-19. The campaign was launched in a number of governorates in the Sultanate. As it planned, the vaccination will cover 60% of the Sultanate's population on various stages. The national campaign for vaccination in its fourth day started in the governorates of Dhofar and North Al-Batina. In the governorate of Dhofar, the vaccination campaign started to give vaccines to citizens and residents at Sultan Qaboos Hospital in Salala. After that, the campaign will move to other 2 health centers in the governorate. The campaign generally targets the elderly and those having chronic and respiratory diseases, in addition to health cadres who are working at a COVID-19 clinics and intensive care units. In the governorate of North Al-Batina, the vaccination campaign started by raising awareness among health cadres and the targets group for vaccination on the importance of taking the vaccine in order to limit the spread of the virus. The vaccines will be available at different health centers in various wilayats of the governorates. The Director General of Health in North Al-Batina Governorate communicates with eligible citizens and residents for vaccination in the first phase of the national campaign. The Minister of Health announced that the total number of COVID-19 cases registered in the Sultanate reached 128,719, while the total number of deaths recorded reached to 1,479. The total recovered cases reached 121,614. The ministry indicated that the total number of inpatients during the 24 hours reached 82, of which 31 are in intensive care units. Now, Oman has a huge treasure of marine life that captivating eyes and minds of its visitors and many other people in the country and tourists. I was there earlier and I had the opportunity to go through in order to make this report. Here is the detail. The Sultanate marine tourism is well realized and becoming popular due to its diverse forms and types. It has emerged as an important form of tourism in the country as a result of its geographic components and marine nature. There are many forms of sporting marine and water activities, most of which are much sought after by tourists. Here in the Governorate of Muscat and many places around the country, one could very well enjoy watching a huge number of dolphins. The marine tourism of various types has become popular, where different activities include boat trips, sailing and diving trips are available for all.
Oman is a wonderful place to be, both on land and in the sea. If you're looking for an opportunity to find some dolphins or have that special one-on-one with some turtles, or even to discover the great underwater world, this is the place you want to experience. With the COVID situation, here at Extra Divers, safety is our #1 priority. We keep strict regulations, we do not fill our boats, so safety is everything you need. Come and join us.
Tourists who want to enjoy marine life could enjoy it throughout the year, but this time is the best time of the year. This is because the temperature is suitable for swimming on the surface or deep diving, where you can enjoy sea life and its beauty while witnessing many species. Indeed, Oman is one of the places that has the huge treasure of coral reefs, astonishing marine biodiversity, which has small and big sea organisms such as dolphins, sharks, and whales, as well as turtles, captivating eyes and mind of the people. Sultanate of Oman is the place to experience marine life. So come and join true experience here. Abdullah bin Ahmed al-Rubai, Sultanate of Oman Television, Muscat. This is the Sultanate of Oman Television. Before we end tonight's bulletin, here are the main points once again. The Sultanate and the U.S. review training programs and joint security exercises for next year. The Omani Historical Encyclopedia Oman, since the beginning of time, is launched. And the Capital Market Authority establishes a new department to combat money laundering. And with that, we do conclude this news bulletin brought to you live from this news center of the Sultanate of Oman Television. From me and the entire news team, we thank you for joining us, wish you a pleasant evening and good night.